A couple of days ago, Brian Bowdler and myself had the privilege to interview a cancer survivor. The cancer survivor survived a severe case of colon cancer. In this interview, you will learn about his struggle with colon cancer, what he did in the beginning, how he felt when he had the cancer and when he found out he had the cancer, and what he did after it was cured from him. In the following interview, you will witness firsthand a cancer survivor.
About 15 years ago, when I was working, I was having problems having bowel movement for a couple of days, and I decided to contact the doctor, and I went to see the doctor, and he prescribed some medication for me, which was supposed to make me have a bowel movement. But however, I went and seen my cardiologist, and he prescribed something, and it didn't work. So then I decided to call my doctor that treats me for my diabetes, which he in turn prescribed a medication he said would work, or I was going to call him names because it would work so fast on me. I waited a few hours after taking the medication. Nothing happened. I called him back, and he told me to get over to the emergency room at the hospital right away. They started examining me and admitted me to the hospital, and then shortly after that they run a CAT scan and discovered I had a blockage in my intestine. And they decided I had to have surgery for it to remove that blockage. They took out what was known as a couple of polyps inside the colon. They run the tests on them, and then the doctor came in and announced later to me that I had cancer. The first thing that the doctor told me at the time that when I had colon cancer, he said that I was probably going to have to go on chemotherapy for at least a year. The stage of the cancer was just the beginning. It was just discovered. It wasn't even in a large stage. It was a small stage of cancer. It was like being hit in the stomach with a fist or something. It just really shook me up because, you're always hearing about people having colon cancer and dying from it. And I had all these doctors tell me that no, mine was just a very initial stage and I should be good. And after the operation, they seemed to think that they had gotten all of the cancer out of me. In the meantime, I was sitting home, and a friend of my daughter, Angela's, her mother had cancer, and she heard that I had been diagnosed with it. She came over to the house to talk to me and explain to me what I might be going through with cancer, which was one of the most heartwarming talks I'd ever had on the subject. She gave me your doctor's name. I called and made an appointment with him, but I had to wait a couple months because he was out of town, or out of the country. I talked with him, and he explained to me that I did not have to go on chemo for a year. I would probably only be going on it for maybe up to 6 months because they had a new procedure out, which was, instead of one medicine, it was 2 medicines. And I decided to get my treatment at the hospital at the University of Pennsylvania. So then I started on the chemo, and for the first couple of times I had the chemo, they showed me a list of symptoms you would have from the chemo. And on this list was like 9 items that you could possibly come up with. I had all 9 plus a few others that they hadn't heard of. One was like I had, it was like sores inside my mouth from it. I didn't want to eat nothing. I didn't want to do anything. That was primary one of them that really irritated me. And the next time I saw the doctor, I explained to him and told him, and he said, well, maybe they were too heavy on the treatment they gave me, so then they decided to lower the treatment a little bit. Then everything went real smooth. And I was only on the chemo, I would say, for maybe 4 months. I would say it was a little over a year before I was felt like I was recovered enough to go back to work. And they put me on a disability for a while. After 6 months of disability, they called me and told me that I should come back to work. I would say about a good year before I felt strong enough to where I could do things that I used to do. I had no sign of any cancer in my family, except I had a cousin who died of breast cancer. In my family, I think the most thing that we were noted for was probably heart problems more than anything. The primary thing was they wanted me to drop some weight, which I did, and after that I felt good. I started doing a little more exercise. That's one thing I would recommend for somebody that's diagnosed with it. Try to do as much as you can, but get out and exercise a little bit, even if it's just walking. But I think some of the symptoms that the chemo gives you, it makes you tired, real tired, like you don't want to do anything, but you've got to. This friend of mine that talked to me about the cancer had explained that to me, which helped immensely when I first figured out certain things that I take for it, and it helped a lot. Light eating and not heavy like I used to. Well, it's one of the things I have to do since I had it was I have to go back every year for a checkup again. And I'd say the first 6 months, each time they examined me, I always had a CAT scan. After about 6 months, they stopped running the CAT scan, but I go in for an examination. They go in and take blood work, usually have a chest x-ray. They're all pleased because I dropped so much weight and I exercise a little more than I did. Everything works good for me. But I was concerned about maybe it coming back. I think that that's something you'll always have in your mind, that it may come back. In my case, I've been 15 years, and over at the hospital are all proud of me. They brag about me whipping it, so I feel good about it.